Welcome back to our channel, everyone. Today is Thursday, a beautiful day to dive into some serious daytime drama. We have so much to unpack from today's explosive episode, so let's just get right into the absolute madness without any delays. And honestly, we really need to talk about what just happened because the writers just took things to a level I don't think any of us were actually prepared for. I mean, we all knew the tension between the Forresters and the Spencers was reaching a boiling point. We knew it. We saw it coming from a mile away ever since Hope defected to Logan and Katie forced Will to keep all those massive corporate secrets from Elektra. But today was just a complete and total explosion. A literal physical explosion right in the middle of Forrester Creations. So let's set the scene because the build up to this was just agonizing to watch. Will has been spiraling. He has been completely drowning in guilt and stress for weeks now. Katie put him in an impossible position by making him lie to his girlfriend about Hope's new fashion line, and we all saw how that ended. It ended with Will snapping at the beach house and repeatedly punching RJ. It ended with Elektra throwing her necklace at him and walking out of his life. So Will is already at rock bottom. He is emotionally shattered, he is exhausted, and he is desperate. And for some reason, he decides to show up at Forrester Creations. Maybe he was trying to find Elektra to beg for one last chance. Maybe he just wanted to clear the air, but whatever his reason was, it was the worst mistake of his life because Ridge Forrester was waiting for him. And let's be real here, Ridge has been acting like an absolute dictator lately. Ever since Eric's Haute Couture show got upstaged by Logan, Ridge has been on a warpath. He already ousted Donna, he's been screaming at everyone, and he has zero patience left for anyone with the last name Spencer. So when Will walks into the executive suite, Ridge doesn't just ask him to leave. No, that would be too simple. Ridge decides to make a public spectacle out of it. He corners Will right in the main CEO office, and he intentionally leaves the doors open. He wants the staff to see this. He wants an audience. Ridge just starts laying into him. He publicly humiliates Will in front of the Forrester employees who are all just standing there, whispering and watching this kid get verbally destroyed. Ridge looks Will dead in the eye and calls him a disaster seed. A disaster seed. He actually said that. He tells Will that he is exactly like his father, Bill Spencer. That he is nothing but a toxic, destructive force who ruins everything he touches. And you know, Ridge and Bill have hated each other for decades. This is a rivalry that goes back forever. But projecting all that generational hatred onto Will. A kid who genuinely tried to be the good guy. It was just so harsh. Maybe I'm being too harsh on Ridge because, yeah, Will did beat up RJ, but standing in a corporate office and screaming at a young man in front of the entire staff is just so unprofessional. It was bullying, pure and simple bullying. But Ridge didn't stop there. Oh no, he kept going. Because Ridge Forrester never knows when to stop. He looks at Will, who is just standing there taking it, fists clenched, looking like he is about to shatter into a million pieces. And Ridge tells him that he is permanently banned from the Forrester Creations building. Which, okay, fair enough, Will doesn't work there anymore, and he did attack the CEO's son. But then Ridge takes it a step further and threatens to use all of his power, all of his influence, and all of his wealth to completely blacklist Will from the fashion industry forever. He tells Will that he will make sure he never works in this town again. That his career is over before it even started. And you guys, the sheer arrogance of Ridge in that moment was just suffocating. He really thinks he is the king of Los Angeles. He thinks he can just snap his fingers and destroy a young man's entire future just because he is mad about a fashion rivalry and a fight. But even then, even with the threats to his career, Will was still holding it together. He was shaking, but he wasn't reacting violently. He was just taking the abuse. Until Ridge crossed the one line he never should have crossed. He brought Elektra into it. Ridge steps closer to Will, getting right in his face, and he attacks Will's pride. He mocks him. He tells Will that he never deserved Elektra in the first place. He says that Elektra is a Forrester, that she is royalty, and that a Spencer like Will was always going to drag her down into the mud. He essentially calls Will worthless, saying that Elektra finally saw his true colors and that she is lucky to be rid of him. And that was it. That was the trigger. You could literally see something snap behind Will's eyes. All the stress, all the heartbreak, all the lies Katie forced him to tell, all the guilt over losing the woman he loves, and all the rage at being humiliated in public just boiled over in one single second. Bam! Will lunges forward and throws a massive, devastating punch right into Ridge's jaw. It wasn't a push. It wasn't a slap. It was a full-blown, heavy-handed punch, and it connected perfectly. Ridge didn't even have time to react. He just stumbled backward, his arms flailing, and he completely wiped out. The great Ridge Forrester, the almighty CEO, went crashing down to the floor right in the middle of his own office. The entire room just froze. The staff watching from the hallway gasped. Some people actually screamed. It was total chaos. And Will is just standing there, breathing heavily, looking down at Ridge on the floor. His knuckles are probably bruised, his chest is heaving, and you can see the exact moment the adrenaline wears off and the realization sets in. He just assaulted the CEO of a major corporation in front of a dozen witnesses. Honestly, what were the writers thinking? Because this changes absolutely everything. Who actually believes this is going to end well for anyone? Will is in so much trouble. We are talking about serious legal trouble. Ridge is not the kind of guy to just let this go. He was already furious about Will punching RJ at the beach house, but getting punched himself, in his own office, in front of his employees. Ridge is going to press charges. He is going to call the police, and Will is facing a very real risk of being arrested for assault and battery. And what does this mean for the possibility of Will and Elektra ever getting back together? It's done. It is completely, 100% over. Any tiny, microscopic sliver of hope that they could reconcile is dead and buried. Elektra was already horrified by Will's violent outburst against RJ. She already packed her bags and moved out. But when she finds out that Will went to Forrester Creations and physically assaulted her uncle, her boss, the patriarch of her family, she is going to be terrified of him. She is going to look at Will and see exactly what Ridge told her to see, a dangerous, unhinged Spencer who can't control his temper. It is so tragic because Will was always the sweet one. He was the good son, and now he has just destroyed his own life. But you know who I really want to talk about? Katie. Katie Logan Spencer. Because when Katie gets the news about what happened in that CEO office, she is going to be absolutely horrified. And she should be. Let's be completely honest here. Katie is the one who started this chain reaction. If Katie hadn't poached Hope from Forrester, if Katie hadn't forced Will to keep all those massive corporate secrets, if she hadn't sworn him to silence and forced him to lie to Elektra's face day after day, Will would never have been under this kind of pressure. Katie is going to have to look in the mirror and realize that her corporate war, her desperate need to beat Forrester Creations and launch Hope's new line, is exactly what pushed her son over the edge. She turned her sweet, level-headed boy into a violent, aggressive Spencer. She essentially turned him into a younger version of Bill. And watching Katie process that guilt, watching her realize that she won the fashion war but lost her son's soul in the process, is going to be some incredibly heavy drama. She is going to be terrified that Will is going to end up behind bars. And speaking of Bill Spencer, how is he going to react to this? Because part of me thinks Bill is going to be secretly proud. I know that sounds awful, but you guys know Bill. He hates Ridge. He has wanted to punch Ridge in the face a million times. When Bill finds out that his youngest son walked into Forrester Creations and knocked Ridge flat on his back, Bill might actually smile before he calls his army of lawyers to keep Will out of jail. Bill is going to see this as Will finally acting like a true Spencer. He is going to defend his son to the death, and that is only going to escalate the war between the Forresters and the Spencers even more. This whole storyline has just morphed into something so dark and so intense. A few episodes ago, we were just talking about fashion shows and stolen designers. We were talking about Hope sneaking around and Katie making power plays. But now it is deeply personal. It is violent. It is about family legacies and generational trauma. Ridge calling Will a disaster seed is so telling. It shows that Ridge doesn't just hate what Will did, he hates what Will is. He hates his bloodline. And Will proving Ridge right by throwing that punch. It is just brilliant, messy, tragic soap opera storytelling. I hate seeing Will go down this dark path, but at the same time, I can't look away. It is like a car crash. You just have to watch. So what happens next? Does Ridge call the cops immediately? Do the security guards tackle Will? Does Charlie Weber finally do his job and escort Will out in handcuffs? I have so many questions. And what about RJ? RJ is probably going to feel so vindicated. He already hated Will. He already took a beating from him. And now he gets to watch Will completely self-destruct and ruin his life. RJ is going to use this to get even closer to Elektra, playing the safe, reliable good guy while Will is painted as the violent monster. And poor Elektra, she is just caught in the middle of all this toxic masculinity. She just wanted to run her jewelry line and be happy, and now her ex-boyfriend is throwing haymakers in the executive suite. It is just too much. I am honestly still shaking a little bit from watching that scene. The choreography of the punch, the look of pure hatred on Ridge's face right before it happened, the shock in the room. It was television gold, even if it was clunky and heartbreaking. The writers are really pushing these characters to their absolute limits, and I am here for it. But I also need a nap because this show is draining my energy. We will have to wait and see if Will actually gets arrested next week, but things are looking incredibly grim for him. The Spencer family is going to have to rally hard to save him from Ridge's wrath, and the fallout is going to impact every single person on this canvas.